Marketers' ads and videos target teen and tween girls with powerful messages about their body image and the look it takes to stand out and be popular. Because of the culture's influence, studies reveal that many girls of color experience negative perceptions about their own beauty and self-worth. Loretta Moorman is passionate about motivating these girls to see themselves as beautiful. She's a licensed therapist, etiquette coach, speaker, and author of the book, Hello, My Name is Beautiful. Loretta was a guest on Excellent Living last time, and that's when she told our host, Cheryl Martin, how she defines the acronym BEAUTIFUL. She says, the B is for body, the E is for etiquette, and we pick up today with the A in BEAUTIFUL for attitude. Let's listen.
Attitude is a small thing that makes a huge difference. And I talked to the girls in that chapter about not only how they view their own attitude, but how do others view your attitude. It's really important to know and to really ask your friends and your family how they view your attitude. Are there things that I need to work on that maybe I don't even see? Because a lot of times that happens. We might not see that we have a bad attitude, but if you talk to your girlfriend, your best friend who's known you for, a number of years, and you say, hey, girl, I'm doing an assessment on myself. Can you tell me some things about my attitude that maybe I can work on? Because sometimes we don't see those, or we don't want to see those things negative things that we need to work on. So I just really encourage the girls to just do kind of like a personal assessment of themselves and of their attitude and just really try to see what are some things that they can work on.
I really appreciated one thing that you mentioned in this section, and you were talking about yourself and wanting to overcome a perception of you because you said some viewed you as, quote, stuck up earlier in life, and you said, I worked on my listening skills and learned to speak only when I had something constructive to say.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Yes. Well, when I was in high school, I was stuck up. I can admit that now. I didn't see it back then.
So you were insecure and stuck up.
Isn't that an oxymoron? Yes, I was. I was insecure and I was stuck up. But you know what? My being stuck up was the mask of my insecurity. I wanted to always point out everybody else's insecurities because I didn't want people to see my own. So that's what that was about. But yeah, my closest girlfriends, they would start kind of talking to each other about their own, their little gossip and issues and things that they had going on with their boyfriends and things, and they wouldn't talk to me about it anymore. They kind of just would leave me at the cafeteria table by myself, and I started realizing, whoa, no one wants to talk to me anymore. What's going on? And when I talked to them, I asked them a question like, hey, what did I do? They told me, you're always judgmental. You're always, telling us what we shouldn't do, like you're our mom, and, you're just really stuck up. And it hurt me really badly because, who wants to have their friends tell them something like that? But at the same time, I was happy that they did. I was happy that they were honest with me because I had to look around and say, okay, if everyone is saying this about me, it must be true. It must be true. So I had to...
you set out to change that.
Yeah, I did. I had to because I did not want to be... I didn't want to be alone. I didn't want to be that person that no one wants to share their stories with and share their... any of their memories, with. I wanted to be included and I wanted to have wholesome friendships. So, yeah, I started listening more. If I didn't have anything constructive or positive to say, I would just sit there and I wouldn't say anything. Even if I had an opinion, I would be quiet and let them talk to me about whatever it is that they wanted to talk to me about. And I think that it became something that was positive in my life because I started to understand that sometimes you don't have to say everything. You don't have to say everything that comes to your mind. I had to learn that in high school. I had to understand and learn that because we want to share so much, but sometimes there's a point where you don't have to say the first thing that comes to your mind because it could hurt somebody. So, yeah, it was a process, but I'm happy that I went through that.
I love also what you wrote in the book. You gave some tips to avoid gossip, and you said it's simple. Don't gossip.
So yeah, it's simple. Don't gossip. It's very, very straightforward. But a lot of the girls that I talk to, they are growing up in this society where gossip is a big thing. I mean, it's a marketable thing, especially in media. And so I tell them, okay, I understand that you're watching these television shows that have gossip on that are talking about celebrities and talking about their lives, but you don't have to be a product of your environment. So I just tell them, hey, don't gossip. Don't talk about other people's business. It gives you more credibility. It gives you more integrity. Others will know that they can trust you, and they know that they can trust you because they don't hear you talking about other people's business.
Loretta, when you were talking about your own period of experiencing insecurities and how no one knew, not even your parents, the question came to my mind, because I'm sure there are a lot of parents listening today. Is there anything parents can do to be on the alert and to be aware that their daughters may be going through this spout, this time of being insecure, so they can be alert and be proactive?
Yes, there are some things that parents can do. Here are a few tips that I believe that parents can do to motivate and inspire their daughters. The first thing I would say is to continue to empower your daughter. Continue to tell them, that they're beautiful, that they're loved, that they're valued. By you empowering them and encouraging them, they will begin to believe it. It's like affirmations. When you say affirmations enough, you'll start to believe it. Another thing I would say is talk openly about the media. Sit down and have a candid conversation with your daughter about the false sense of reality that media portrays with beauty, and just talk to the girls and your daughters about ways that they can overcome trying to compare themselves to the media. Be their cheerleader. Give them every ounce of confidence boosting that they need, because all of these girls right now are in this stage where they compare themselves not only to the media but to their peers. So you have to be their personal cheerleader. And another thing I would say is choose your words wisely. And what I mean by that is a lot of times, and my mom actually, I told my mom this, and we've talked about it and laughed now, but when I was younger, my mom used to make negative comments about her own appearance. When I was a little girl, she would be in the mirror and she would say things like, oh, I'm too fat and I need this and I need that. And I would hear her say that. So when she would make negative comments about herself, I started looking in the mirror at myself, and I started pointing out the negative features about myself that I thought were, not acceptable. So really choose your words wisely when you're around your daughter. You have no idea the influence that you can create when you talk positively, not only about your daughter, but about yourself.
And those affirmations need to be on a regular basis, right?
I agree. Yes, most definitely. Every single day. Talk to them before they go to school. When you're driving in the car, just tell them to repeat after you. I am beautiful. I am confident. I am smart. All of those. It's really important.
So you're also saying that the parent should not wait for the child, for the teenager or the tween to come and say, I'm being bullied or I don't feel good about myself. The parent should be aware of what the challenges are for the child and just immediately start dealing with them in conversation.
Definitely, because the reality is, I did not go tell my parents that I had low self-confidence, and I am not the only one who has, secretly dealt with something that really could have been avoided had I been able to talk to my parents about it. So a lot of times kids just feel like because their parents are their parents, they cannot talk to them for fear of being judged, for fear of being disciplined, whatever it is. So as the parent, you have to be proactive, and you have to just address the issue. Whether or not you think that they have issues with confidence or not, just talk to them about it openly. And then that can create some dialogue and some trust between you and your daughter.
What turned it around for you, where you really began to see yourself as God sees you and to have a positive view of yourself?
Yes, I'm happy that you asked that, Miss Cheryl. Well, it all started when I was 23. I will never forget this evening. I was hanging out with one of my best male friends, he's like a brother of mine, in Chicago. I was in graduate school, and we were just sitting around talking, and I was venting to him about a girlfriend. I was so jealous of her because I felt like she was perfect. I felt like she was that image of beauty, that standard of beauty that I saw every single day in the media. And he stopped me mid-conversation. He said, Loretta, if only you could meet yourself. If you could meet yourself, if you knew how beautiful and special and capable of doing anything that you put your mind to do, you would never compare yourself to anyone. And when he said that,
That's
it was like it
powerful.
struck a chord in me. A light bulb hit, really. I said, wow, if my male friend, is telling me that I need to meet myself, that's something deep, man. That's something that I need to really address because clearly I thought that I knew who I was, but I actually had no idea. So I started to really get in tune with who I was and really start pointing out the features about myself that I liked and the features that I didn't like. If I felt like I needed to lose some weight, I got on a regimen. I got on a healthy eating regimen. I started working out. Different things that I wanted to do for myself to become more confident. So once I met myself, I began to become confident in my flaws, and confident in the things that I don't deem as flaws. So I became more comfortable in my own skin.
That was licensed therapist and author Loretta Mormon. You're listening to Excellent Living with Cheryl Martin. Cheryl and Loretta are continuing their discussion from last time on helping girls of color see themselves as beautiful. Loretta Mormon received her master's degree in social service administration from the University of Chicago. She's the author of the book, Hello, My Name is Beautiful. If you missed the last broadcast, you can order a single CD with both interviews when you visit excellentliving.org. Let's return to the conversation.
Now, the U stands for underneath it all. Does my inner beauty match my outer beauty? Is that it?
That's it. That is it. And in that chapter, that's exactly what we talk about. We talk about inner beauty because we know that there are a lot of people, and I said this earlier, there are a lot of pretty people that have ugly traits and ugly tendencies, and they have ugly inner beauty. They can be very negative. They have bad attitudes. They're moody, and just different things like that. So on the outside, they may look perfect to you, but on the inside, there's some things that they need to really address. And so I talk to the girls about how important it is to make sure that your inner light is shining and that you are, really working towards being a pleasant young lady inside and out. Even in the chapter, I kind of talk about a little story about a young lady named Samantha who, had a crush, and she was going to his Sweet 16, and she had some pimples on her face, and she had a breakout, and she didn't want to go, but she went anyway. But she was fearful that her crush wouldn't like her because her outer appearance to her was not appealing. But he loved her inner beauty, and he told her the inner beauty that you have overrides your outer appearance. So a lot of times we only look at the outer appearance of somebody, but really, just like Sam's crush looked at her heart, God looks at the heart. He doesn't look at the outer appearance. So we really need to focus more on our character. We need to focus more on our integrity and more on just every single inner attribute that we possess.
How do you recommend one does that? I mean, how do you do that? Work on your inner beauty.
Yeah, I think that one thing that you have to do is basically what I did when my girlfriends told me that my attitude was I had a bad attitude. You have to do a self-assessment. You have to do a self-evaluation, and sometimes it's difficult to do that because we don't want to really address the negative things about ourselves. It becomes somewhat of an insecurity for us. But if you don't start looking at the things that you need to improve on and really just taking a step back, putting your phone down and turning the TV off and really just praying and journaling and just asking God to help you to see the things that you need to work on, then you'll continue to go throughout life with the mask on. And you won't be, I believe you won't be the best version of yourself.
The T in beautiful, you say, stands for thoughts, Proverbs 23:7. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. How critical are our thoughts for changing our view of ourselves?
Our thoughts are so critical. In the chapter Thoughts, I talk about the little engine that could. That is a childhood story that everyone is familiar with. But in the chapter, I talk about how, and I call the engine a girl, but I talk about how the little engine was so determined to make it to her destination, and no one else thought that she could because she was small. They thought that she wasn't capable. But all she said was, I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. She didn't even say, I know I can, or I believe I can, or I have faith that I can. She just thought that she could. So that simple thought led to a great success in the end. So our thoughts are very, very critical, because the reality is that our thoughts create our future, and our thoughts create our action. So we really have to focus on, positive thinking. And I also put in my chapter an important note. It's very, very important that no one ignores their thoughts about themselves. A lot of times, and unfortunately, I have dealt with girls who have had thoughts of suicide in my therapy work. So I always tell girls, never ignore your thoughts. If you are having negative thoughts or harmful thoughts about yourself or someone else, please tell someone you trust, an adult. Please tell a trusted adult, because they are very critical to what we do and how we act and how we behave.
Inner spirit. Inner spirit.
The subheading for that is, what's so important about my soul? I get that question a lot. Well, not that exact question, but a lot of girls ask me about their soul and, their spirituality, and why is it so important to come to church, or why is it so important to believe in God or believe in, something higher than myself. And I always tell them that in order for you to really succeed in life and grow throughout this life, with peace and ease and a peace of mind, I believe that you really have to believe in God. You have to believe in a higher power, because if you don't, you'll always depend on self. And a lot of times we fail ourselves. So I talk about a story in the chapter about my dad. My dad had a massive heart attack when I was in grad school, my first year in grad school. And I talk about how when I got that call from my mom, I was devastated. They said that he was going to pass away. They said that he might not live. Let me rephrase that. So fear set in. And I remember being on the plane and just, I cried the whole night before I got on that flight. And I had to just pray. I had to pray and ask God to just give me a peace of mind, because I could not handle those thoughts and those emotions on my own. And when I woke up after I prayed, I felt peace. And so I tell girls all the time that it's really critical that you develop your own relationship with God. It's very important to talk to Him and pray to Him, because unlike our friends who go to sleep at 11, 12 o'clock, or sometimes if you're up on the phone with them until 2, they still have a bedtime. God has no bedtime. And so I tell them that all the time. If you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you can't call anybody, hey, God's right there. So developing that relationship with Him is very, very important, and becoming your best self and becoming an overall beautiful creature.
What role did your own relationship with God, what role did it play in you having a breakthrough in how you saw yourself?
You know what? It played a huge role. I think that one of the biggest epiphanies that I had, like I said, after I talked to my friend when I was 23 about my insecurities, and when he told me I needed to meet myself, one of the biggest epiphanies that I had was reading Psalms 139, the whole chapter, and I remember stumbling across verse 13 and 14. And it's such a familiar passage of scripture. I've heard it so many times growing up, but I had to keep reading it over and over. And after I started reading how God created me and his inmost being, and how he created me as fearfully and wonderfully made, I literally had an epiphany like, whoa, Loretta, that's what Brandon was talking about. If you could meet yourself, if you could see how fearfully and wonderfully made that God, your creator, made you, man, that is deep. That's heavy. You are unique. There's no one else like you. It really made a difference in how I began to see myself.
That's great. Your F is for feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Briefly talk about feelings.
Yes, feelings are a huge part of every girl's life. I talk to tweens and teens all the time about adolescence and puberty and how you are going on this emotional roller coaster. So I talk to them about how you should deal with certain situations as it relates to your feelings. I give them different scenarios in that chapter about how how you should respond versus how you should react. Because a lot of times when we are in our feelings, we react, and sometimes those reactions are not constructive. A lot of times they're destructive. So I talk to them about responding in a positive way, and not letting your feelings control you. You have to control your feelings.
Unique you.
Unique you, yes, that is my favorite chapter, actually. I enjoyed writing that chapter. It just talks about what makes you unique. Just like the scripture that I just mentioned, Psalms 139, I believe that's a great scripture to talk about just your uniqueness and your individuality. And so I talked to the girls in that chapter about how it was a show. Tia and Tamara Mori had a show called Sister Sister, and they were identical twins, but they both had they had individual personalities. They had unique traits and qualities. And so basically, to sum it up, I just tell them that, hey, you could look just like a person. You could try to emulate them and duplicate them. Imitate them, but you can never duplicate them, because there's only one of them and there's only one of you.
And finally, love, the role of love in this whole process. What is it?
Yes, love. What does love have to do with it? So this is actually something that a lot of parents ask me, why did you choose to write about love for the tween and teen girls? And I tell them all the time, because a lot of teen and tween girls are like they're in love. And so I wanted to break down what love is. I talked to them about how a young lady who found herself in a situation where she felt like she was in love with this young man, how the situation affected her. And I talk about how love is not an emotion, love is a choice. Love is a choice based off of certain fundamentals. And a lot of times we don't see love as that, but that's exactly what love is. And I also talk to them about loving themselves. So I talk to them first about loving others or someone else, but I talk to them about loving themselves, because if you don't have love for yourself, it is very, very, very hard to love someone else. And it's hard to be loved by someone else.
Mm-hmm. What is your advice for a teen or tween who would pick up your book and read it? And then what is your advice for a parent who would buy the book for the daughter?
Yes. Well, I would say for the tween or teen who picks up my book and reads it, I would just say use this book as a tool for you to just become a better version of who you already are. You look at every single chapter and really just study each chapter. I give you some lines in the book where you can journal. I think journaling is very important. It's really good for reflecting. So I would just say take some time, take a chapter a day, or maybe even a chapter a week if you're really busy. Because I know a lot of tween and teen girls are super busy. So, maybe a chapter a week, and maybe make a book club out of it. You and your girlfriends can sit around and just have this as a tool to help guide you throughout this process. For the parent, I would say use this as a resource to connect with your daughter. maybe even a resource to teach your daughter certain things. I know one parent told me, hey, you know what? You really helped me in the body chapter talk about puberty with my daughter. I had no idea how I was going to talk to her about this. She's 11 years old, and she just, went through that puberty situation, and so she said, I really didn't know how to talk to her, so thank you so much. So it's just different, it's a resource. It's different ways that you can utilize the book that hopefully can create dialogue between you and your daughter, and I hope that it can create a better relationship between you and your daughter.
Well, Loretta, I would have to say that how your mother described you is a perfect way to end our dialogue, and your mother describes you as always striving to do your best, yet never forgetting to help others achieve their best with a heart to do the right thing no matter the cost. So I thank you for being uniquely you and for sharing your journey with our listeners, and also for taking the time to give clear guidelines and encouragement and hope to this generation of young girls with your book, Hello, My Name is Beautiful, a guide to beautifying girls of color by embracing and developing their minds, bodies, and souls. Loretta A. Moorman, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
If you have a teen or tween girl, or you work with this age group, we trust that you found this conversation helpful for steering them in the right direction about their body image and self-esteem. Our guest, therapist Loretta Moorman, is the author of Hello, My Name is Beautiful. You can order a CD with both programs featuring Loretta when you go to our resources page on excellentliving.org. That's excellentliving.org. To learn more about Loretta and to order her book, just visit the website lorettaamorman.com. That's lorettaamorman.com, with Mormon spelled Morman. Well, that's it for today's broadcast. Next time, our leadership and relationship coach, Dr. Johnny Parker, joins us. I'm Doris McMillan, encouraging you to do all of life God's way. That's excellent living.